Magnus returns to battle. This Wednesday is the start of the IGC Zurich Chess Challenge. It's one of the strongest chess tournaments in the world, and apart from our new world champion Magnus Carlsen, there are going to be players such as Viswanathan Anand, the former world champion, eager for revenge, Levon Aronian, the world number 2, fresh from a stunning victory in the Vaikanze tournament, and the American champion Hikaru Nakamura, and he might be one to watch out for. In this tournament there are going to be normal classical games, all play all tournament, but then on the final day they play a rapid play tournament, and Nakamura is a real rapid play specialist. We saw that in London in December where he was in cracking form. Let me show you a game that Carlsen and Nakamura played a few years ago, and this shows you how good Nakamura is. Now this was a blitz game. It was played in a tournament in Oslo. This was the final. Carlsen had the white pieces, and you can see here that he's a pawn up. Basically it's been a typical Magnus Carlsen kind of game. He's outplayed Nakamura and he's reached an endgame where one would expect that Carlsen would win. Let's see what happened. Carlsen checked with his knight, a good move. That forces the black king to the side, and that allows white's king into the position. What this king is trying to do, of course, is, well, apart from attacking the knight, is get through to black's pawns, and once white takes these pawns, then he'll be able to advance one of these to the queening square. Nakamura took Carlsen's knight. Carlsen took the black knight. Now Carlsen is still a pawn up, but it's going to turn into a race. So Nakamura is going to take this one and try and bring his pawn to the queening square, and Carlsen is going to have to race this one down the board. Now the players were incredibly short of time, and in this kind of situation it's very difficult to calculate, that is to look far ahead, and here Carlsen was playing on instinct, but his instinct proved wrong. Here he played the king over to take the pawns. What he should have done was to advance this pawn down the board. Now it's a race, who's going to get to the queening square first? Well, in this case white's pawn would get to the queening square first, and not only that, here's the important thing, he would queen with check, so black would not have time to get a queen himself, and white would win this position. Instead, Carlsen played his king over, which looks at first glance okay. You know, if you have no time to consider, you think, great, take a pawn and then rush this one down the board. But this time he's a move behind. Nakamura kept his head. Well, here black's moves are very easy. They both raced to the queening square, and the funny thing is, this time it's black that queens with check, so Carlsen didn't have time to advance his pawn. Now Carlsen made the most of it and grabbed this pawn, so now there are 3 pawns against a queen. Still not easy to win if you have very little time on the clock, but watch Nakamura's technique. This was really very clever indeed. First of all, he forced white's king in front of the pawn. Of course, if the king moves to the side, you take the pawn, black is going to win. So now the king has to go in front of the pawn, so the pawn can no longer advance, and now black brings back his king. So the king needs to come over, and then he'll try to force a checkmate. Now the game still isn't over. Carlsen rushes these pawns down the board. He's hoping to give away these pawns and try to get some kind of stalemate. Nakamura took this pawn. He took the next pawn. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky, because now the king can bounce out, and if black gets this wrong, it'll just be a draw. Well, first of all, white is threatening to queen, but Nakamura's technique was flawless. Now when you're short of time, this is not easy, but watch how he does it. First of all, he pinned, preventing the pawn advancing because it's check. Now, the king, well, actually, that was the end of the game. Carlsen resigned here. If the king comes back, then, well, it's very easy. The queen just stops the pawn and we'll be able to force white's king out of the way. But if the king goes here, now this is tricky because white wants to make a queen. But there's a very clever winning move. Carlsen didn't need to be shown, but watch the technique. Black's king comes here, allowing white queen, make a queen, and then bang, checkmate. Normally queen against queen would just be a draw, but here it's checkmate. The king can't move to the side because the queen is in the way. Brilliant technique from Nakamura, even when he was short of time. So watch out for Nakamura. He's a rapid play specialist. It's going to be fascinating to see how Magnus Carlsen copes with the pressure now that he is the top dog. Do watch out for my video reports throughout the tournament. Play starts on Wednesday with a blitz tournament to decide the colours, and then the classical games start on Thursday. Thanks for watching.